camera.
We're good.
We're good, we're rolling?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay, Vivian, she did this the first time ever. Never even saw it before. So we always begin everything at Center for Spiritual Living with a spiritual mind treatment, and I invite you to take a deep breath. And on the exhale, let it go. And continue to breathe in and out as we move into that greater state of awareness, which knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that God is in this place. That Spirit is everywhere, everything, everyone, every when, every how. That whatever this infinite self-acting of Spirit on Spirit is, it is everything, because everything has come out of Spirit. So since Spirit is the all in all, we know that each one of us is an individualization of divine mind. We are Spirit made manifest as us, because there is nothing else that we can be. All there is Spirit. And so just breathe that in a moment. We are spiritual beings, living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. Breathe that in. We are divine. We are perfect. We are whole. We are complete. Right here and right now. We are beings of light and beings of love. And since we are created out of this infinite mind, this substance of Spirit, then whatever Spirit is, we are. And so we claim and affirm for ourselves this night that we are powerful, we are creative, we are healthy, we are abundant, we are deeply loved and loving. We are absolutely successful. Our lives work. They get better and better and better. All that we need, we have. Whatever we focus on, we manifest in our lives. Whatever God is, we are. Whatever Spirit is, we are, because that's all that we can be. So go beyond the words and just breathe it in. Feel that fill every part of you. Feel yourself expand. Wow, that's what it's all about. And so we move into gratitude for being able to understand these principles that govern our lives. We move into gratitude for being who we are, and for all of the blessings in our lives. And then we just let it go. We have done our work. We have changed the inner, and the outer must reflect it. So we turn it loose, fling it out into mind, knowing that the only thing that can happen is it returns back to us. As together we say, and so it is. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. I want to just bring you up to kind of speed on the class schedule. It seems that I left in the dead of winter and came back in its spring. So I'm going with that and scheduling classes to where they're going to work out in a more timely manner. So my guess is you've already received a postcard that says the next class is Creative Mind and Success. Well, Vivian is nodding her head yes, and you just moved. So do we have your new address? No. Okay. Your postcard is at your old house. But starting next week, we're going to start another class that's really just an extension of this called Creative Mind and Success. And I was going to put the two classes together originally, except the Creative Mind and Success book was out of print. No one knew when it was going to be reprinted. They still don't know when it's going to be reprinted, even though twice I've been told that my order was going to be shipped, by the end of the week for the Creative Mind and Success books. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the next phase of this class, and you have some choices. You can go online to our website at cslasheville.org. That's our website. How many people are familiar with our website? It's a great website. People all over the world are on our website. And then you go to free downloads. You click on books, and click on Creative Mind and Success. So you can download that into your iPad, your smartphone, your computer, anything like that. You can then print that out if you want and have a hard book, maybe in a notebook or something like that if you print it out, or you can go online and buy it online. What is this?
It may be the
You're
batteries.
electrifying.
Not right.
I'm gonna try changing the channel again.
I have no idea, Breezy. This is not my genius. What comes out of my mouth is my genius. How it's captured and given to the world are other people's genius, or geni, I guess. So you can download the book. You can find it on Amazon. You can probably go into Barnes & Noble, and they might have it on the shelf. I know they have in the past carried Creative Mind, or they can order it for you. Or if that is all beyond you, we will print you out a copy, put it in a little do-it-tang notebook, and you can purchase it next week. So how many people want to buy a copy of the book?
From here?
Yeah,
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, it'd probably be about $10. So I'll bring some next week. Nancy said she'd figure it out and get them all printed out for people. And those of you who are tech savvy, you can just go online and download it. And it's not a big book at all, so it should be pretty simple to come up with. And then we're going to take that class all the way through the end of May. Again, it's Basic Science of Mind. It's Ernest's second book. He wrote Creative Mind in 1918. He wrote Creative Mind and Success in 1919. So it was just his second book. And it's a continuation of getting the basics with an emphasis on having this affect change in your life. I've had an opportunity over the last 3 weeks, 2 of which I've been not here, to speak with my peers about this beef I've got going on right now with our movement and our teaching, that we have watered down our teaching. And we've made it way okay for people to still be poor, to still be sick, to still be unhappy, when we have a teaching that says, you don't have to do that. If you do these things, you will not be poor, you will be prosperous, you will not be sick, you will be healthy, and you will not be miserable, you'll be happy. And so there seems to have been, over the decades, because I've been in this teaching, 37 years. I know, it's hard to believe. But there used to be this idea that you were expected to demonstrate. Before you could ever be a practitioner, you had to demonstrate, and not just 2 letters of demonstration over 2 years. No, you have to demonstrate on a regular basis. If your car broke down, you were expected to heal it or get new transportation and to do it just like that. There was not, months of process work in it all. And so my focus on Monday night is to have you get to a point where you are using the principles and your life is changing. And everybody's change is their own, but I need to see progress in my students to feel like we're on the right path. So that's what we're going to continue to do with Creative Mind and Success. I was sharing with Nancy Walton this afternoon that when I started practitioner class many, many years ago, after I paid for it, and there was no payment, you're going to be a practitioner, you write your check out before the first class, and then we went into the first class, and when it was over, my teacher said, now go home and demonstrate unexpected income by next week, and if you haven't, don't bother coming back to class, you're not ready to be in practitioner class. And so this idea of being able to demonstrate on demand is something that I would like to bring back into the culture of our community, to where if we need something, we can create it. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with where we are now. I just see an elevated consciousness opportunity to where when people come into this center, their lives get better. and we don't have a lot of, oh, they're there, well, it's rough out there, and you know, you've got to go see the doctor, or you've got to go see the bankruptcy attorney or something, you know, it's all a spiritual experience. It is all a spiritual experience, but why would we choose that limited spiritual experience when we can choose something greater? So the process of going through Creative Mind and Success is going to be an extension of that kind of a class. Basics, how is this working for you? What are you doing in your life? And what are we seeing as a result? Or how are you feeling? You know, it's not okay to be in this teaching 5-10 years and still feel lousy. Wake up in the morning miserable. So I just want to get this out while I'm on a roll with this. And in your reading, which was the last of the book, Ernest says on page 81 of the book, I don't know, 84 of the book, I don't know where it is on the website, but he says, if knowing the infinite power flowing through you, you still remain sick and unhappy, miserable and poor, my friend, it is your own fault. Do not blame God, do not blame man, and do not say it is of the devil. It is your own fault. Every time you say, I am, you are recognizing the eternal, infinite presence of omnipotent power within yourself, which is God operating through your thought, and that is why you bring upon yourself the thing you fear, and why you bring to yourself the thing you want. So he's saying, this is the end of his first book. He's saying, come on now, let's stop putting the power outside of ourselves and saying, it was my childhood, it was my education, it's the economy, it's the political structure. No, 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 it's us. And the sooner that we can embrace that, the better off we will be. And I would choose not to use that word, it's your fault, because that's such a trigger, but I think he intentionally wanted to trigger you. He says, when 51% of your thinking is health and life and power, that day the 51% will swallow up, erase, kill out the rest. The day you as an individual, through 51% of your thought, pass beyond perception of limitation, you will draw out of the universe everything you desire. Poverty will desert you and you will be emancipated forever. The day you think 51% of happiness, misery shall depart and never return. Is it not then worth your time and your effort, and should it not be the greatest purpose in the life of any awakened soul, so to depict this principle as to emancipate himself? And I just have one more paragraph I want to read. The way can be shown, but each individual must himself walk the way. We are so bound by suggestion and hypnotized by false belief, so entangled by the chaotic thinking of the world, thinking which is based upon the principle of a dual mind, that we become confused and are not ourselves. Wake up! I love it when he gets like this. Wake up! Your word is all-powerful. Your consciousness is one with omnipotence. Your thought is infinite, your destiny is eternal, and your home is everlasting heaven. Realize the truth. I am living in a perfect universe. It always was perfect and always will be perfect. There never was a mistake made. There are no mistakes being made, and there never will be. I live in the great and eternal universe of perfection from cause to effect, from beginning to end.
So it is.
Wake up, yes. I want to wake up. I want us all to wake up and stop giving each other the easy out. Well, that's what everybody believes. Of course you've got the flu. It's flu season. Oh, poor baby, you want some chicken soup? You want me to call the Sunshine Circle and have them come over and take care of you? No, I don't want anybody to take care of me. I want to be well. I want to be well, and I want to be able to demand that wellness on demand. I want to be able to reach out into the universe and grab what I want whenever I want it, and stop giving myself that slide. Well, nobody will notice, Barbara. You know, you can just take out a second mortgage, a third mortgage, a fourth mortgage, and you don't have to tell anybody. No. We are powerful beings. We are prosperous beings. We are beings of health and wholeness and love and joy and clarity about our electrical energy field. So I had a wonderful trip. You know, I'm perfectly capable of speaking without this. So I had a wonderful trip. John and I actually did quite a bit more work than, see, it's off.
I know, it's working.
Pardon me?
Who's working?
It was working, but you've got all the statics. Yeah, no, I don't do static. Barbara Waterhouse. People from all over the world are listening to this. I don't do static. So we did a lot of the work that we usually do. Does anybody remember Marsha McLean? Who?
I do.
Marsha McLean was a student here when we were out in the cornfield for the first 5 years, and then when we moved here, and she was in one of our first and only 2 ministerial classes that we had before we affiliated. We were an independent Science of Mind center, and I did ministerial classes, and I ordained people. I ordained Rick and Katya and Clella Ann and Marsha McLean, and probably a lot more people that I have since forgotten. But she went out to Black Mountain and started the Wisdom Center. And then she moved the Wisdom Center into town.
Hey, CUP, the Center of Unlimited Possibility.
Center of Unlimited Possibility, CUP. So, you went to that? Well, the short curly one was my student.
It used to be next to
Earth Fair, yes. And Sonia Contois was another one of my students, the older one with the blonde hair. So Marsha did all of that, and then she went to Bellingham, Washington, and tried to go to Canada, and the Canadian government wouldn't let her come because the church that had said they would hire her was not going to pay her enough money for the Canadian government to consider her an asset to their country, you know, to enrich the economy and pay taxes. So they told her she couldn't come. And then she went to West Palm Beach and started a group from scratch, which speaks to my heart. There are plenty of little centers around the country that shuffle one minister after another. They keep them for 2 or 3 years and then ship them out. And for me, it's not a viable plan. And so she went to West Palm Beach and she started her own group from scratch. And so she finally got Centers for Spiritual Living to recognize the ordination that Barbara and John Waterhouse had given her as Center for Creative Living when we were just first moved here. I mean, we did it on the stage, so I know that it was in this building, but we had just moved here. So she was very excited, and we went up to Jupiter. It wasn't enough to go to Palm Beach. She wanted this event done at Jupiter. It was in a kind of a rustic building on the water, and we watched the full moon rise. It was Thursday night. It was spectacular. And we had an opportunity to talk about Marsha and recognize her ordination. We all had our little robes on and all of that. And to celebrate that she's gone into West Palm Beach, where there is no Science of Mind, and started something. One of her practitioners drives almost an hour each way to go and be a part of that. And that was a happy thing for me, feeling like my teachings have gone out into the world in an even greater way and started something brand new. And having started this center brand new, it's close to my heart. If we could send out 1,000 people and start brand new centers, well, my gosh, people would have a center to go to. By the way, our John created the idea of spiritual living circles less than 2 years ago, based on groups meeting in people's homes and working with the Science of Mind magazine. The home office in Denver emails them 4 study guides for 4 different articles in the Science of Mind magazine. And then they invite their friends and they talk, because there's no metaphysics or science of mind or unity or anything for miles and miles and miles. We are almost at 1,000 of those circles.
Wow.
And the next thing that John wants to do is get those study guides and that magazine translated into Spanish, and Russian and Chinese and German and French, and he put the call out for anyone who can translate and who understands science of mind. Because we've had things translated by just translators, they totally miss it. They miss the whole spirit of the thing. So it was a real uplifting experience for me to be able to go and share that with Marcia. And the 3.5-hour drive in traffic was a real reminder of why I left Miami. And then Friday night, we went to Fort Lauderdale because there were 4 ministers being ordained there. And I had an opportunity to speak there, which is only the 2nd time in my life I've spoken there. And that's where I sat in class for years. And that's where I took all of my practitioner training, my ministerial training, and it was wonderful for me to be able to get up on stage and say, this was my home church. This is where I came lost and broken and found myself. And I stand on this stage as a testament of what this teaching can do. And so that was like full circle for me, especially since that property is up for sale, has been sold, and that group is moving in 170 days. They actually have a giant countdown clock in the back of the sanctuary. So that was really good for me to remember why I do what I do, what this teaching will do, and what we can do with it. So even though, you know, classes have been kind of on again, off again, it's been snowing and icing, and I've been out of town and things like that, what we are doing here is really important, to be able to remind people that there is something going on that they can take. Ernest said there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. There's a power in the universe. It's not necessarily for good. It's not that you can use it, it's that you do use it. And to be able to awaken to that and to get that whatever is happening on the outside, we created that at some point in our past. Whether it was in our childhood or whether it was yesterday or whether it was a second ago, whatever is happening is our creation from some moment ago. And if we want something to change, now is the time to change that. That's the wake up that Ernest has. And wake up, people. Now is the time. Now is the moment to change the thoughts, to choose the feelings, to set the law in motion, and to claim dominion over our world and experience what is rightfully ours to experience. So the idea that we can do that is such a big deal. I was talking to somebody who was had extra food, that's where the bread is, and didn't know where to take it. And I said, well, we have a school, you know, and anytime there are children, there's usually an ample opportunity for people to have extra food in their house. So if you want to bring that, then I'm sure it'll find its way home, which is why I said, Mike, you probably have some bread and maybe some pie coming home to you. I never saw the pies. All I saw was the bread. I was promised pies, but I don't know. And then we got to talking about using either this room or the room in the building next door as a distribution point, maybe once a week, for places to bring food and people who are looking for food to come and take that. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great while that is going on to give people pep talks and to give them books and to give them handouts and to whisper that in their ear, because I know for me, as soon as I heard it, I got it. I got it. As soon as I heard it, I had never heard it before, but I knew it in my soul. And I had no money, I was on welfare and food stamps, didn't have a job, didn't have a place to live, had a 3-year-old child, I had nothing, and I heard this, that there's a power and a presence within you, and that you can use that to create your experience. You can feel that sense of fullness. You don't have to be lost, you don't have to be broken, you can feel that sense of completion, and then you can move out and have this sense of connection with everyone and everything, and your life can work. I got it. And wouldn't it be great to be over there while people are coming in, they're just coming in to get some food, and you know when you're coming in to get some food from a church, usually you have some issues going on. Wouldn't it be great to have practitioners there Wouldn't it be great to whisper in people's ears and go, you know, you can have this. You participated in the creation of this, and that means you can participate in the creation of something better. I'm not going to say it's your fault because that's too strong. But this, you had a hand in this, and you know you did, so let's take that hand and move it somewhere else. And put your hand in a better life. Put your hand in a little bit more, a little bit stronger, and a little bit healthier, and a little bit more empowered. Because I want us as a community to have a culture where when people come in here, they're healed. I mean, that's what the whole Tuesday morning class is about. It's about being healed right here, right now. It doesn't matter. And that was when you died of tuberculosis. That was when, if you had an infection, there were no antibiotics. They'd, you know, pour a little something on it, a little powder on it, put a Band-Aid on it. Good luck. And that's the best medical science has for you. So that was at a time when people were desperate for the healings. And now that we've got better medical science and we've got social programs and things like that, we're not so desperate anymore. And sometimes I wonder if that desperation didn't motivate us. You know, I know some of the biggest changes that I've made in my life have been when my back was against the wall and I felt like I had no choice. I had no choice but to step out in faith. I had no choice but to grow. I had no choice but to risk. And so I did, setting spiritual law in motion, and that all came back to me. I want to have real stuff. I don't want to just talk about it. I want to have real stuff happen to every person that comes in here. To have real health and wholeness, real prosperity. And that's different to different people. You know, I'm not going to put an amount on it. Like, you're only healthy if you look a certain way. That's ridiculous. You know, you're only prosperous if you have a certain amount of money. That's ridiculous. You're only loved and loving if you have a lot of people around you that are your buds and your friends and you're in a long-term monogamous relationship. That's ridiculous. You're only successful if it looks like the success on the movie screen. That's ridiculous. Everybody's got their own idea of what that is, but everyone should be meeting their own idea. And for us to know how to do it and then not to do it, it's like to know how to swim and then jump in the deep end of the pool and not swim. You know, there's a craziness to that. And so what I want for everybody that calls this center home is for us all to be able to take these teachings and to really expand them in our lives and grow. And I know that the possibility is right there. And then I truly want us to be a beacon of light that goes out into this area and brings people in. And they don't have to look a certain way. They don't have to be metaphysical and have feathers in their hair and smell of patchouli oil or anything like that. They can be people coming to pick up food because they don't know how they're going to feed their kids. Well, I've been there, and I can tell you how you don't have to stay there. And I just feel like there's some, I don't know if it's the springtime coming up out of the ground. Every spring I can feel the sap. Do you feel the sap coming up? You can just feel the movement coming up from dormancy into life. And I feel that there's this energy coming out. And so I'm just kind of giving you a heads up of what I'm focusing on, because you know, by being in my class, you have given me the right of consciousness to take you along with me. And sometimes that looks great, and sometimes that doesn't look so good. Because sometimes the reason that we haven't gone there already comes up for us to look at and say, what limiting beliefs am I still holding on to that says I can't do that. I can't have a demonstration instantly. My car doesn't just heal itself on the side of the road. I have to take it to the mechanic, and then I have to figure out how to pay the mechanic, and then I've got to do all of that. I think that we can just heal the car. I really do. I think that we can just reach out and grab the job. I don't like that job. I want a new job, or get that job. I think that we can have experiences with other people that are more loving and intimate and nurturing than we have ever had in our lives. And I think the doors can just open for us, and the windows of heaven open and pour blessings down upon us. I really do that. So I encourage you to start questioning what your beliefs are about what you can and cannot demonstrate. And you may do a spiritual mind treatment or an affirmation or whatever on that car, and it still may be carried away by the tow truck, but I want us to go there. I want us to go there. There are people who have had dead batteries out in the parking lot, and we've gone over there and done a spiritual mind treatment on it, and that battery springs to life. You know, and until we do that, until we start challenging our limitations all day, every day, we just stay stuck in them to the point where we don't even know we're stuck. Yeah. So I want us to look at ourselves right square in the eye and say, I am God in form as me. I command the powers of all creation right here and now, not tomorrow, right here and right now. And I demand that time and space show up in this certain way. That's the way I used to be taught. You place a demand upon the universe. You demand it. Demand it. Don't wait till God doesn't have anything else to do to get around to you. It doesn't work that way. You're always last if you're going in that mindset, because it's always an outside God. So, that's what I did when I was at the beach. There's a reason I've given my life to this, because I know it. I know it works. I have absolute faith that it works. I've seen it work for thousands and thousands of people. I've seen demonstrations and healings and things happen that they never thought would happen, things out of the blue, things that looked like it was going to be terrible and it turned out to be great. I've seen that happen over and over and over again. So I'm asking myself, what is it that stops us from having it happen again, from having it be a normal occurrence in life? What is it that stops us from being able to step full-orbed into our power and live a life of joy and joy and joy and joy? What is it that we are doing to sabotage ourselves? And I don't want to do that anymore, because we don't have to. We can process it, and I could give you all kinds of lists of self-sabotaging behavior and psychodynamics and drama and trauma and issues and tissues and all kinds of things that would just lead us to Ernest saying, wake up, wake up. The time to awaken is now. To be able to open up to that which we truly are, which is God in form. And when we get a glimpse of that, oh my gosh, we've set spiritual law in motion, and then all of this stuff is happening to show up in form as whatever it is we've glimpsed. And he says all you need is 51%. Really, 51%. That's it. Never to be poor again. 51%. Boy, I think we should all start setting our clocks. Well, if there's 24 hours in the day, and I'm going to sleep 6 to 8 of them, that leaves 16 hours, and that means 8 hours of this day I need to focus on what I want. Actually, 8 hours and a little bit to get the 51. And if I do that, then nothing will ever hold me back again. I wonder if that's why people have retreats. Because I know a lot of people who go to those silent retreats and they're just going, because they come back and they talk about all of the monkey mind that went on while they were at silent retreats. So I'm not sure that that's the answer, but that's an idea of how can I spend over 8 hours a day reading, listening to music, doing affirmations, talking, walking, experiencing the beauty of life. The really good ministers have had their own personal healings. Kathy Ann Lewis in Seattle had ovarian cancer and was told that she had to have surgery right away. And she said, nah, I'm not going to do it. Give me 3 months. And the doctor said, you'll be dead in 3 months. And she said, well, I might be dead in 3 months, and I might not, but I tell you what, I'm gonna take 3 months and come back, and when I come back, if I still have cancer, I'll let you operate. Because surgeons only know how to do surgery, that's all they know. That's what they're focused on. What can I cut out of you? You know, how can I cut you? And we lift them to high levels in our society. So Kathy Ann took time off from work, left on sabbatical from her center in Seattle, and she said all that she did was be mindful every day about the beauty around her and to do the things that she hadn't given herself permission to do, usually because of time constraints. So she rode horses, she noticed the roses that were planted in her yard that she hadn't noticed before, and she just slowed down. And in the book I was talking about a couple of Sundays ago, Mind Over Medicine, they say that when you do that, your body triggers into what has now been labeled the relaxation response, which is the opposite of the fight or flight mechanism. And it has a natural ability to instantaneously heal, regenerate, regrow, whatever may need to be healed, regenerated, or regrown. And they watched it do it just like that. You give someone who's worried about dying a saline injection and tell them it's a new miracle cure, and they go, oh, I'm not gonna die. This is wonderful. I'm so happy about this. And they go to sleep and they awaken the very next morning and all of the cancer and the tumors are gone. Just like that. So Kathy Ann took 3 months and she went back to the doctor and they said, you have not a single trace of cancer in your body. When I was in Fort Lauderdale, Arlene Bump had rheumatoid arthritis to the point where she was in a wheelchair. And they said she would never walk again and she was going to live the rest of her life in pain. And she found this teaching because, you know, she tried everything else, so she might as well try God. And did what they told her to do. Watched her thought, released things, forgave people, let go of limiting beliefs, ideas of self-punishment. And it's totally gone. Totally gone. You know, I was dirt poor, grew up dirt poor. I am a walking miracle that I have a sense of myself. I was talking to, are you cold? Is it cold in here? No. I was talking to John, just kind of reminiscing about gender roles and kids and things like that. And I went through an entire year of dressing like a boy. You know, because nobody noticed me. It didn't make waves. If someone did that today in a public school system, there would be red flags and they would want to have counseling sessions and family interventions and things like that. I just got away with showing up at school for an entire year dressed in boys' clothing. And so for me to be able to stand here comfortable in my femininity, in my woman power, is a healing of that. It's a demonstration. For me to be able to have a voice when I went to elementary school, I had to go into speech class because no one could understand me. Because I was just, you know, poor white trash is what I was. They would call the health department on us. I wish we had welfare back then. We would have eaten on a much more regular basis. So for me to be able to stand here with a sense of who I am and say that I don't care how lost you feel, I don't care how broken you feel, I don't care how poor you were, giving plasma twice a week, that is some sick stuff. They bleed you, they take all the liquid out of it, and it's very cold by the time it goes back in your body. And the red blood cells that go back in your body is very, very cold. I would shake, partially because I was so skinny. And then they would do it all over again. It took 2 rounds before you got your $10 bill. Cash going out the door. You know, so I know, even though mine is not a physical healing, I know that this teaching works. And I know that if we can begin to grasp the idea that there's something great and wonderful within us, that we deserve to have the life that we want, that we can have the life that we want, and this is how you do it. I know that if we will do that, we will have major changes in our lives. Major changes in our lives. Even if our lives are really great, they'll get better. And if they're not so good, they'll get really good. And then we become those beacons of light that go out into the world to have that shift happen. I was waiting for the plane. I was sitting next to someone. Gosh, this morning seems so long ago. I was sitting next to someone who had a fluffy dog, and they were coming to Asheville. They had a condo in Asheville. They come every 8 weeks. And I said, well, that's interesting because we go down to Miami every 8 weeks. I said, we should just swap houses, you know. And she said, oh, I'd love to move to Asheville, but I can't. You know, I just can't. And I said, well, you know, maybe if you just set your intention and don't worry about how it's going to work out. Just set your intention and know that other people have moved to Asheville and you can move to Asheville too. She was obviously a woman who had means, and it wasn't that she couldn't afford to move to Asheville. She'd created a story about how she couldn't come. I said, then just let it go and watch how spiritual law shows up and demonstrates, you know, what you're thinking about. And she just kind of nodded. And I thought, that's a seed. That's a seed to plant. But I can't plant that seed unless I am a full-grown tree or bush or plant to have a seed to plant. Otherwise, I'm still being a seed and trying to grow myself. But once we grow ourselves, then we can go around and we can give that helping hand, which for us is a mental hand, for the people around us. And say, well, of course you can. I know you can because I did that. I know you can be happy because I did that. I know you can be prosperous because I did that. I know you can heal that because I did that. I know you can because I know that I can. And as we do that, we start to grow. So I love the ending of this book. It was a real kick in the pants from Ernest to say, if you know this and you're not doing it, then everything that you don't like in your life is you. It's your fault, he said. It's you. It's not anybody else. And don't go blaming God that God somehow has it out for you. Don't put it on your past or your history or your parents or anything like that. If your life isn't demonstrating, it is all about you. So I love that. It's like sometimes I want to go up to people, I just want to shake them and say, wake up. Don't you see what you're not doing? Don't you see what you're doing? And if you start to see that, even if your life is a mess and you're going down, you know, the wrong way. I don't like any of the phrases that came up into my mind. You're going down the path to where you don't want to go. Even if you realize that, once you realize it, you get that you're capable of shifting your path. And you may not know how it's going to happen. You may not know what's going on, but simply opening to the awareness that this is my doing. I take full responsibility for this. Nobody ever does anything to me. Nobody can take anything away from me. Nobody can hurt me. Nobody has ever hurt me. And I have not ever hurt anyone else. My life is me. And now what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? So I had some wonderful conversations with some of my peers. And I was gladdened at their agreement. I always like people to agree with me, but I think that this is important. You know, I was gladdened. We're not Course in Miracles. Nothing's wrong with Course in Miracles, but we're not. We're not unity. Nothing's wrong with unity, but we're not. We're not pagan. Anybody who wants to come and burn a giant bonfire with me and Becca and Sandy tomorrow afternoon, just come on over. But we're not pagan. We believe that there is a spiritual power that we set in motion with our thoughts, with our words, with our beliefs. And that as we do that, the universe shows up in our lives in a definable, measurable, remarkable way. and that we are doing that every step of our lives. And as long as our lives are getting better, we're on the right path. But if our lives are getting worse, then it's up to us to go, wait a minute, it wasn't because that person left me, it wasn't because I got fired and lost my job, they ripped the very livelihood out of me. No, they didn't. If that job was yours, you would still be there. If that relationship was yours, you would still be there. People come up to see me and they go, well, I think the relationship is over. And I go, no, it's not. If it was, you would be telling me that it's over. You wouldn't be thinking about it's over, but you're still living there and you're still sleeping together and you're still sharing a bank account. No, you're just playing mind games. When it's over, it's over. So nothing can be taken from you that is yours. And if it's not yours anymore and you're not willing to leave it, they're going to leave you because it's over. So people come and they say, oh, they abandoned me, they left me. No, you left you. All they're doing is reflecting what happened inside of you. And that's true for your job, that's true for your house. You got your house. I'm so happy that you got your house. That's true for everything in your life. And as we open up to that, and as we claim it, as we get it, things happen, things shift. I love what's happening in allopathic medicine. They're coming up with all kinds of new ideas. I was talking to Barbara that they're figuring out how to make your immune system do what it's supposed to do. There's a cloaking aspect to certain kind of cancer cells. And it hides the cells from your immune system. And they're finding ways to take off the cloaking shield. What was it called in Star Trek?
Cloaking device.
Take off the cloaking device, at which time the immune system goes crazy and just gobbles up the cancer and people have these healings. Well, what is it in our thoughts that is cloaking that which is hurting us from that within us which will help us? How do we turn on that cloaking mechanism? And how do we turn it off? Because we know that you could just as easily give somebody a placebo and say, this is going to uncloak your cancer cells, and they believe you, and boom, they're uncloaked, and the immune system gobbles it all up. It's like allopathic medicine is coming, kind of kicking and screaming, but they're coming. It's like the stress awareness that we went through back in the 70s and 80s. Oh my gosh, stress will kill you. It was headline news. Headline news. And what is stress other than our attitude about what's going on? Hans Selye wrote a book called Stress Without Distress. And that you can manage all kinds of things. You can sleep, 2-3 hours a night. You can do all these things if you do it with the right attitude. It will not have a negative impact on your physical state because you've got your state of mind in alignment with doing what you want to do. Do we have any artists? You're a sewer. How many of you have gotten involved in a project, and that's any kind of artist? I've stayed up all night tying fishing knots. Any kind of passion, any kind of project. And the time is gone, but you gave your all to it, and you may be physically tired, but you're not exhausted. When we get our heads out of shape, then the body gets out of shape. And so I love that allopathic medicine is coming on board because so many people give doctors all kinds of credibility. If the doctor says it, it must be true. Well, wait till the doctor says it's your attitude that can heal you. Wait until the doctor says you need to practice positivity. You need to start being your own cheerleader. You need to stop being in toxic relationships and being around people that don't see you for the amazing person that you are because it's toxifying your body. When somebody in a white lab coat says that, people are going to believe it. And they're going to jump into a whole different frame of mind. And things are going to shift. And honestly, it's just not that far away. Mandy.
I actually have gone to a doctor he said to me, two really important things. The worst things for your health are to say bad things about other people and complain about not having enough money.
Hallelujah, and what is this
He's
doctor's
not-
name?
He's a chiropractor, naturopathic physician.
Great, who
He's
is
got
that?
nutritionist Dr. Nicholas Hedberg. He's amazing.
Nicholas Hedberg,
Hedberg.
H-E-A-D,
No, Hedberg.
H-E-D-B-E-R-G. Anybody who's
And he's
speaking
got
truth, I'll
great
give them a
stuff.
plug.
He's got YouTube talks and lots of stuff on his website, like he can educate you without you even having to go see him. You can get a lot of really good education. But yeah, isn't that really cool?
Yes, it's very cool, very cool. What was that women's book? Heal Your Body? Was that the one that did a lot of work about sexual abuse and things like that? What was that book? Remember that book?
Was that the Louise Hayes book?
No, it wasn't Louise Hay, it was somebody else. You Can Heal Your Life is Louise Hay, but this was breakthrough stuff. What was it called?
Heal Your Mind, Heal Your Body. There was one called that.
It was all about women, because most women have gone through some kind of sexual abuse in their lives.
Is that Martin
Christian
Women's Body, Christine Northrup?
I don't remember who it was, I don't remember, but it was breaking news when she wrote it, that something that happened to you years and years ago that you still had feelings about was affecting your body today. And it was a big deal. There were all kinds of worksheets that you had to write out and things like that to do forgiveness work, to release, to move into your power. And I'm not saying that men haven't gone through their stuff. God forbid you should have cried when you were a child. I know men that had the crap beaten out of them because they cried. And yes, men have things happen sexually to them also. But this book was about women, and I noticed it because I am one. And it was one of those quantum leaps. You know what a quantum leap is in quantum physics? It's when you go from point A to point B and you don't traverse the space between. And this is a real thing. There are quantum leaps where you just leave point A and you show up at point B and you didn't travel through any kind of a space to get there. And so there are quantum leaps in consciousness and awareness and growth that happen to us as a species. And I feel like we're getting ready to have another one where more and more, it's not just stress that will give you a heart attack, but that if you complain about not having enough money, you are giving hold to cancers, to diabetes, to arthritis, to all of that kind of stuff that Louise Hay has been beating the drum on. Louise Hay, a religious science minister, back in the day when people thought we were nuts. And now, more and more, we're not looked at as nuts. We're quirky, but happy quirky. And more people are opening up to this idea that there is a connection between what they're focusing on, what they're thinking, what they're believing, and what their life is. So we're looking at a book that's 100 years old. It's almost to the day 100 years old. And he's saying that there's a spiritual law in the universe that we can set in motion, and you gotta be a fool not to set it in motion once you know about it. So wake up, set it in motion, and live the life that you're meant to live. Stop doing things that hurt you. Stop staying in jobs or relationships or whatevers that don't lift you, that drag you down. And I'm not saying you should go out and quit everything, but maybe I am. Maybe I am. Because we all know it's all about us, and yes, we created that, but do we really need to process it to the nth degree before we leave? Do we have to know every reason that we got into this relationship after we know it's over before we leave? Or maybe we could just leave. maybe we could just quit. Maybe we could just leave the car on the side of the road and go buy a new one, you know? I'm watching these ads. Boy, Miami is all about cars. I've never seen so many Rolls Royces in my life as on Miami Beach. And then there are the Bentleys, which are not as good as Rolls Royces because they're made on the factory instead of by hand. But you have Lamborghini dealerships, Ferraris, things like that. Yes, 2 weeks ago I said, expand your awareness to own the auto industry instead of going to the used car lot. And I got an email from somebody the very next day that said that he was very busy expanding his awareness and a $75,000 deal came through the very next day. And he had done that morning. He had just expanded beyond the little, what do I need to be okay? What can I get here, a little bit here, a little bit there? He just went to this big space and a big contract came in. So anybody who knows this and is not doing it, I have to ask you, what are you doing? And I ask that to myself, what am I doing? I mean, my new goal is to pay the mortgages off. Because I'm tired of nickel and diming every month. We used to have $13,000 a month and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different mortgage payments every month. You know, what kind of sabotage and self-abuse is that? So I just want to pay off all the mortgages so that we can play with the money that comes in instead of, okay, now this one's come, this is 5,000 here, and this is 5,000 here, and this is 2,000 here, and all of that. Let's just pay them all off. And so I have to look at myself and say, where am I not at 51%? That we deserve to have the mortgages paid off. We're here 20 years. We deserve to have mortgages paid off. You know, we've got it together. We're solid. We're good. What is it that's limiting me? What is it that's holding me back? How much energy am I going to give to what is? And when am I just going to go, they're paid off now. The mortgages are paid off now.
Absolutely.
The mortgages are paid off now. That's my new mantra. You know, we've done all kinds of things. We brought 2 organizations together. The people said it would happen over their dead body, and now that they're dead, we brought 2 organizations together that was people said it's never going to happen. Never, ever, ever going to happen. Our John from Asheville, North Carolina is president of this. We do all kinds of big things. So just mark my words, the next big thing is that the mortgages are going to be all paid off. And we will have a wonderful party of celebration stating that we get to demonstrate this teaching at every level.
Yes.
I love you. Let's take a break. So I've been asked a number of times tonight and over the last number of months about Practitioner 1 class. And since I'm not teaching standardized curriculum anymore, I need to make sure that whoever is planning on going into Practitioner 1 class has that flow go smoothly. And I certainly can make that happen. But I want to know from you who thinks that they are going into Practitioner 1 in September. And I'm going to write your name down.
I don't think that I know it.
Barbara, could you give a synopsis of what is involved in Prac 1 or what is?
How many classes have you taken? Probably another year for you.
Okay.
Okay, Barbara.
Who's Victoria?
Who's teaching it?
I am.
Janelle?
Laura.
Vivian?
Laura.
Kathy? Marcy?
Is Kathy with a K?
Yeah.
And Marcy?
Who's Marcy?
Mandy. Mandy.
Thank
I said, damn wrong.
Gina, do you have class stuff under your belt?
our view from the other side.
That's fine. Gee.
And Mandy. Is that everything?
So what I need from you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I'm sure that'll grow. What I need from you is for you to make an appointment with me and come in and we'll dig out all the papers that have anything to do with you and figure out what you've got official credit for and whether that's enough in and of itself or whether or not you need more credit for what you have done but is not officially recognized. We'll get that taken care of. But I need you to be proactive and make an appointment with me. Don't do it in the next 2 weeks, I'm already booked. And we'll sit down, we'll just dig through it all. I have files and files of transcripts. I have things with your names all over them, so it's not complicated, but I'm sure that we're gonna wanna get that set long before September so that if there's something that you need to take, we can make sure that that happens, paper-wise. Good, good, good.
How many classes do you need to take?
My practitioner class is really a subjective call from me that you are ready to move into a practitioner class. There are technical requirements that I think are 5 or 6 classes. They don't want you to do it in less than a year because there is a maturation of consciousness. Unless you're coming in as a licensed Unity teacher or something like that. But if you're just coming in, you know, what? What? If you're like that, you're going to need a couple of years. Did I do that? You're telling me I did that? So if you're just coming in cold like that, you need a couple of years for the transformation to happen, just to really get in it. And I also want you to know that in this next class, Creative Mind and Success, we are going to have you doing treatment work for each other because that's a vital aspect of shifting consciousness. And I want Vivian to come up here in a very loud voice and share with you what happened to her in just, what's it been, 3 weeks?
A month.
A month, in a month. So come up here, stand in the lights, talk loud, tell it to the world.
So, a month ago, yesterday, on February 8th, I'm driving home from Michigan. I've had a high energy weekend with my son, and my boss has been giving me high energy because of all these changes that she's been making at work.
Take us back a month ago to where you were.
Okay, so a month ago, yesterday, I officially did not have a job. So I've been working at this place for several years, was making really good money, was really happy, and then all of a sudden, whammo, no job. So I'm driving home on Sunday, no job. Call Barbara, please know with me that everything is going to be great. I'm not freaking out. I know that everything is happening the way that it should. And I'm just knowing that I'm going to be in my right and perfect job. So today, I've still had this job. She decided not to move forward and take away anyone's job, which was great. But today, she messaged me and she said, you know, I care about your health and your well-being, and I really want to see you happy, and I just bought this new house down in Florida, and I'm not planning on coming back up to Asheville for quite some time, and I'd really love for you to stay in my, and these are my words, my $1 million home in Weaverville for 2 months, rent-free, just so that you can have peace and quiet and work on yourself. So I'm moving in on Friday.
And what was your energy right at that call? No, right before the call.
Oh, the bad call, or not the bad
The
call, but
good call yesterday. You're
the
driving
good call,
home from
yes.
Michigan. You spent
Yes.
time with with Michael.
Yes, and I was feeling fantastic, but then when I got the call from her, I was feeling a little bit lost, but I was still feeling very confident and centered within myself, knowing that I could take care of it all. And that was really the center.
51%. You're feeling fantastic. You had a great weekend. You're on top of the world. The boss calls. Oh, crap. Oh, well, whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. You still got that 51% going on, so you don't lose everything. The 51% come back here. 51% carries you through to where you get to stay in this amazing house and have everything work out.
Yes.
That's what investing in yourself by feeling happy will get you.
Yes.
Really? I mean, we'll all just have to suffer through being happy so that when something freaks us out, we've got some energy in the spiritual bank account. Just look at it that way. You're just making deposits every time you're feeling good, every time you smile, every time things are going great. Kristen, will you do me a favor and run upstairs and get the papers out of my printer?
Yes.
Thank you. That's your reading list for the next class. I'm going to put that together since we're starting next week. I'm just going to have us start right into the next book. Do you have any questions or comments?
What is the YouTube?
Bart?
It's a audio file, it's a reading of Ernest's work, that piece.
The creative mind and
Yeah.
success? Oh, cool.
There's somebody else read it? Did they do did they do a good job?
I don't know, but the creative mind, there were, I think, 4 YouTube readings. But your voice was the best.
Well, because I was planning on reading it, but if it's already available, I'll listen to it and check it out.
I just sampled a little bit, but.
I mean, I love to have my voice be the only voice in your head, but really, is that reasonable?
But it helps.
Dan Gaddis, have you seen the picture of the bobbleheads on his dashboard of his car? He's got me as a hula girl and John as Yoda. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So that's the reading assignment for next week's class. And get the book however you want. I'll have some. Bye, Jane.
No, she's just letting the bug loose.
Oh, I'll have some here for you to buy next week. So questions and answers. Did anybody get any ahas on that? Did you read the questions and answers? No. Okay. I want to go over them just a little bit. Do you have any questions on the reading list? I kind of shrunk it all down to get it on one page, and that is a regular book of pages, but it also gives you all the little chapter headings so you can find your way. And I don't know what pages are, yeah, that's a regular book page. I don't know what the pages on the website are. So I figured out you could just handle it or figure it out yourself. Yes, Laura?
So you want this read for class 1?
Yeah.
So what do you want read for class 2? I see 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have to.
I lost class 2. Okay, don't worry about that. That'll be your reading for class 2.
The pages are in chronological order.
Class 1 is 5 to 12, class 3 is 12 to 20.
What do you mean? Yeah, they're in chronological order, they're just not
Okay.
numbered.
Well, I didn't know why I had more readings than I had figured out with my calculator, and I had to cut and paste them and move them all around, and that's because I wrote 3 instead of 2. Because I had just left the beach, you know?
It's actually a quantum leap.
It was a quantum leap.
That worked.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
This material will take off of the internet, off of
The website.
your website, and then the books will be available for us the following week.
No, I'll have the books this coming, a week from today.
Okay.
But they're gonna be printed out with, on punched paper in a little notebook.
That's fine.
It's not gonna be a real book.
Okay.
And there are so many books out there that, because this is in public domain, that someone can take this book and rewrite it and call it Creative Mind and Success by Ernest Holmes. So I know the one on the website is the real Ernest Holmes book. And I know the one that I get from DeVore's and Company, the metaphysical book distributor, is the real one. It's just out of print. And for some reason, Penguin has no idea when they're reprinting. But you can go to Barnes & Noble and they will print on demand,
Yes.
but we weren't really sure what those books were. So I would recommend that you get it off our website. And that way you know it's truly Ernest's writings. It's not a commentary on Ernest's writings where they don't tell you where they stop and Ernest starts, which is what happens when people redo a public domain book and then they market it and sell it on their own.
And you said you have some coming in that we can purchase? Is that what
I'm
you
going to
said?
print them out off
Oh,
our
we're printing
website.
them.
Pardon me?
We're printing them here in-house.
Yes,
Okay.
perhaps you are.
Yes.
Well, and it's not a big book, so it's not like Primary Lessons in Healing, which was a big book. So this is just another small little book, but Jane, I'll have one printed out for you.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
and I'll have half a dozen of them for you. But if you do go and get one online and it's a print on demand, we're not sure whether it's gonna match the book that's on our website and the book that Ernest actually wrote. It's fascinating how people can turn themselves into a publisher and a distributor and take all the profits simply by taking a public domain book and changing it a little bit and selling it. That's why often on our books it says that you can't reproduce it for profit. You can reproduce it and give it away all you want, but you can't reproduce it for profit. Not that that would stop anybody. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to be the consciousness police. Isn't that great? Okay, so I just wanted to go through these questions and answers because it presents his argument. What is the truth? The truth is that which is. It is all that is. So whether it's truth or God or spirit or creative force or unified field, he's starting off with the premise that there is one thing that is all that there is. And this was at a time when, although Einstein was still working on quantum physics and quantum physics was getting its baby foot in the door, most people didn't get this idea that what does it mean if there's only one? So he moves on. Where is the truth? If the truth is all, it must be everywhere. Being all, there is no other substance to divide it with. Being undivided, it is everywhere present. All truth, which means all power, must be present at all points or at any given point, at any and at all times. So if there's only one, then you can't have one and something else. And that really is, that's where people went so astray. That's where good and evil, God and the devil, all of that stuff came in. Which has always fascinated me. If God is this all-powerful, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient deity, then how in the world does the devil hold a candle to that omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent deity? And yet, for many reasons, that infinite was put into a limited paradigm so that there could be the other. And then the other was used as, you know, fear and guilt and motivation and all of that. So that if you really look at it, if there really is only one, and that's why I can say, I know that God is in this place because we are here. The very fact that we exist is a confirmation on the presence of Spirit. Because if there was anything other than Spirit, Spirit wouldn't be. And if Spirit wasn't here, if we had truly more than one thing going on, time and space wouldn't hang together. Life would not live, so we could not be. So if there's only one, you cannot have one and then not the one. You know, you can't have one and other. You can't have one and two. And the ramifications of that are huge. And that's what he's building his whole premise about, that says you are an individualization of spirit. You have the same creative ability that God does. You create your life the same way that whatever spirit is created all of the universes and probably much more. You know, you are expanding. You are already healthy and prosperous and loved and successful and joyful and all of that. You already have that. It's all based on the one basic premise that there's only one. And I was just so delighted when quantum physics jumped in and said, oh yes, we can prove it. We can prove it. And you know, you got Troward way back saying that spirit plus nothing equals spirit. That an infinite, in order for it to exist, must exist in its entirety at every point simultaneously. That's pure quantum physics, that they're saying, we can prove it. That all of God exists at the point of you, and 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 this tile, and this table, and this chair, and that we are all one, and that we are all of spirit, all existing, everywhere present, all at once. And if that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will. But if you can start to get a glimpse of what that means to you personally, then you don't have to go get anything outside of yourself. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to get rid of anything. It's already here and now, which takes us back to Hinduism, you know, 12,000 years before Jesus, popularized by Ram Dass, be here now. It's all here and now because that's the only time and place there is. And quantum physics says, I can prove it. I can prove it. So as we move down this logical argument, which I love arguments that make sense and that they're logical and people can go, wow, is that what he's talking about? Why didn't he tell me that in the beginning? Well, he did. This was his beginning book, and he just wanted to make sure you got the key points at the very end. Has the truth changed? A substance cannot change unless there is something for it to change into. That's why we talk about truth and facts. Facts are always changing. The outer is always changing, but the truth, the essence of the divine, never changes. So those verities of spirit, those changeless truths, love, peace, life, joy, those kinds of things never change because there's nothing for it to change into. Otherwise you would have spirit and not spirit. Since the truth is all, it cannot change, for there is no other thing for it to change into. Whatever is the truth, then, has never changed. Now that's when we can get to this thing that says, there is a health and a wholeness in the entire universe. I am made out of that. I am all of it at the point of me right now. That cannot change. Oh, Barbara, but you have green snot coming out of your nose. I don't care. The truth of me cannot change because there is nothing for it to change into. So yes, we have this space-time continuum that we play in. And I mean like as souls, we've come into play in time and space. And that outer outpicturing changes. But the truth of us never changes, never can, never has, and never will. And I find great comfort in that. I find great comfort in knowing that which pours itself through my physical form into this life experience cannot change, cannot leave me, cannot get mad at me, cannot send me away, cannot stop loving me. It cannot change. I find great comfort in that, because sometimes I feel like I'm just bouncing off the walls and a little wacko and have done some things in my life that chances are you'll never hear about. But that energy that pours itself through me can never change. I can never stop being pure, perfect spirit. I can never stop being life, even if my physical form stops experiencing the life force that I am. I can never stop being rich. I can never stop being blessed. I can never stop being happy. No matter how miserable I try to make myself, I can't do it. I've often said I want to give a talk, and one day I will, that says you can't screw this up. The edited version. Really, you can't screw this up. You can't mess this up. You just can't. You can't ruin anything. All because of this idea of oneness. And he continues to build. Is truth conscious? And he says yes, because we're conscious. We can't be conscious if spirit's not conscious, because we can't be something that spirit isn't. Spirit must be conscious. He could not, yes, man is conscious. He could not be so unless truth or life were conscious. Man's self-consciousness proves the self-consciousness of life or truth or spirit. Like produces like. What comes out of life? Everything that is comes out of life. If life is all, then it follows that all that is some form of life. Which means, it takes us back to the tables are alive. The chairs are alive. The floor is alive. This entire universe is alive. We live in a vibratory, alive universe. It reflects back to us the truth of us that never changes. And as we filter and twist that truth through our beliefs and our thoughts, we can modify the reflection. That is our power. Because we are not robots. We are not destined to eternal bliss. People say, I'm sorry, we are destined to eternal bliss. We are not forced to experience it right now without any free will. People say, well, why can't I just be enlightened right now? It's like, well, you could if you would get to the 51% and wake up. Okay. How does life make things? Being all, it must make things out of itself. God didn't have a time and space, heaven and earth people kit that God got from the God Ace hardware store. The only thing that it can do is become that which it creates. And so you are a God being. You are a God being, because if you could be anything else, you wouldn't be here. Because there would be spirit and not spirit. Time and space would not hang together. Life would not live, and you would not be. So the fact that you are says that you are God. And according to quantum physics, you're all of God. All of God. Wow. Wow. You're not the drop in the ocean, you're the ocean. You're not even the ocean in the drop, you're the ocean. The whole thing. The whole tamale. I was going to say something else. A whole enchilada, thank you, that's what it was. I was busy dancing in my head. What was that movie? Never mind. What would we call this inner movement of life? The inner movement of life or consciousness we would call through thought, or the self-knowingness of life or spirit. Because you see, he's saying that since we're conscious, whatever that creative force is must be conscious, making something out of itself. It has to do it with some kind of consciousness. So then he jumps to self-knowing or thought, laying the groundwork for the idea that our thought is creative and that our thought is the tool that we use to have our life show up. I just thought he was brilliant. Then the universe and all that is part of it comes from thought. Yes, everything comes from thought. Now, this is where people get tripped up a little bit. Do we not see a visible world that seems to change? And if we do, how is it that it would come from something that never changes? And people say that, well, this changes, I experience lack, I experience limitation. Doesn't that mean that God experiences lack and limitation? No, God doesn't change. Spirit has no awareness of our lack or limitation. That is all in our heads. He says, yes, we do see a changing world, but back of it is a changeless substance. The thing that changes is the thought or form. The substance from which this form comes never changes. It is one and undivided. All material things, so-called, can be reduced into formless substance, the sole activity of which must be thought or the movement of intelligence upon itself. Did none of you read this? This is good stuff. Yeah, it's the end of the book. I don't know what you've got there. Is that creative mind? Yeah. Yeah. So he lays it out. I don't want to read it all. So he takes it from the absolute to the relative and talks about how, what is man's place in the creative order? Man is a thinking center in mind, reproducing in a smaller scale all that there is in the universe, and I would even say not a smaller scale, the same scale. We don't have any quantification of the absolute. You don't have a big God and a little person. We are reproducing creation. When we speak our word, we command all of the force of creation, period. Either that or we have spirit and not spirit. Either it's all here and now, in us, as us, is us now, or there's nothing. That's why we say we never sacrifice principle on special occasions. We don't say, oh, well, they dropped a bomb, or, oh, the economy tanked, or, oh, the person left me. No, 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 no. It's either all here and all now as us, or it isn't. And so he brings you through to our thought being creative. Talks a little bit about evil. He says evil is the result of a lack of clear seeing based upon a belief in two powers and limitation, and what we call sin is the result of man's struggle to find himself. Isn't it wonderful to think of anybody that we would have in a past life said, that is a sinner? They're looking for themselves. Isn't it wonderful to see everyone as a spiritual being on their path, doing whatever it is they need to do in their perfect and right place, unfolding towards a greater love and a greater life, and that there's no way that they can screw this up. You know, it just takes all the judgment out, takes all the pressure out, stops us from being consciousness police, and stops us from having that reflected back in our life. Because every time we hold a judgmental thought about someone else, we're creating that in our life. I love the thought. What you were thinking about me now is creating something in your life. In your life. Not my life, in your life.
In Living the Science of Mind, he says that people who have addiction issues are people that are looking to more fully experience life.
Right. He says that in this too.
Yeah.
And in the textbook. So, you know, you look back at when or if you're still, you know, looking for some kind of a substance high. If in days gone by, when you were, or not, maybe not everybody, I know I was deep into looking for God in drugs. Deep. I knew God was in there somewhere. And all I had to do was do enough of them to find it. But it was my own sense of knowing there was something more. and wanting that. And if drugs worked, I would be teaching it. You know, what is it now that's all over Asheville? The e-cigarettes are filled with cannabis oil. And people are just toking away, and they're looking for something. And alcohol's the same way. Well, I just want to relax, because God knows you can't relax without alcohol. I just want to get a little buzz on and just let it all go and just see things a little bit better. That's fine, but what you're doing is you're looking for yourself. You're looking to find yourself, and there's nothing wrong with drugs or alcohol. I'm over that. You guys do whatever it is you want to do, but understand that you're looking for you. You're looking for you, and if the means that you use to try to find yourself are not taking you where you want to go, you may want to look differently. If they're taking you where you want to go, great. Great. Nothing wrong with it. People are going, really? And he says, what is meant by mental conception? He's talking now of the creativity of our thought. All things are produced by thought. The thing produced from mind is first formed in thought. Thought molds mind into form. Thought molds mind. And he says that we're the only ones that can hinder ourselves, and that we should begin by being grateful. Being grateful for already having what it is we want to have. And that's how he finishes up the very first book. That was his, I don't think he knew that he was going to write 50 books after this. This was it. He wrote his book. And that was his synopsis in the back, and that was his ending. And he said, when you pray, believe that you have received. Be grateful for having what you're praying for. And his language got better as time went on. But if we really were to go around and just truly be grateful that we already have a place to live, that we already have a job, that we already have fulfillment, that we already have plenty of money, that we already have energy and vibrant health and happiness and joy and friends and the best center in the world to go to, and that everything was working out great, if we could really just hold that energy, then amazing things would happen. And it's just 51. Just 51%. That's all you need. And then he says, never again will you be poor or sick or miserable. That's the first book. Next week we'll work on the second one. Any questions about this? I know we missed 2 weeks, and so it's kind of funny to pick it back up. I wanted to do a little bit of a review and bring everybody back to speed, and close out this class and kick off the next one. So any questions? Great, take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand. We give in our gratitude that we have an opportunity to be awakened. It's not a tit for tat, it's not a tip. It's a gift of gratitude that we have an opportunity to awaken. And so from that sense of fullness, that each one of us is an awakening spiritual being, expanding into greater and greater levels of love, prosperity, health, wholeness, joy. We give into that flow of life. And yes, we know that life takes that and multiplies it and brings it back. But we give out of the fullness of who we are. We give out of that quickening of our soul and our spirit. And I know that each one of us comes together, and our lives get better and better and better, that we manifest that which we focus upon, and that we shine our light for the world to see. I know that each one of us comes together to make this Center for Spiritual Living Asheville all that it was ever meant to be. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Don't dilute the energy you're getting out of your throat. It's awakening and quickening, awakening. Quicken. Take it in. We are very blessed to be able to come together. And in that sense of blessing, I know that everything in these baskets is blessed. Because that which we are goes out into the world every time we give. Whether we give a check, money, an intention, a blessing, a treatment, an affirmation, whether we give a belief in someone's inherent goodness, whether we give a hug, a smile, or a hand, that which we are goes out into our world through our giving. So we are mindful of what and how we give. And I know that that blessing of these funds fills up this room from the floor to the ceiling and all between the walls. This air is rich and blessed with God as us, touching each and every one of us, awakening us, quickening us, allowing us to come into the full orbed being we are meant to be. Always here and always now, touching everyone here tonight, everyone who's ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. And love you guys. Have a wonderful week. I'll see some of you.